Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Get ready for Talking Heads, the show where expert insights meet world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Brought to you by USA Global TV and Radio. Meet our distinguished presenters. From the great state of Texas, longevity expert, award-winning author, publisher, and distinguished Toastmaster, Red O'Laughlin. From London, England, soul heart awakener, novelist, vocal coach, and artist, Dr. Madeline Chan. Also from England, the Harley Street stress expert, therapist, ambassador for peace, and speaker, Carolyn Heward. And from Australia, ICF PCC credentialed coach, entrepreneur, and leadership coach, Mariska Dupria. Experience their expertise, connect with their wisdom, and transform your perspective. Watch Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. This video and its contents are the property of USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. Visit usaglobaltv.com for more details.
Howdy, all y'all. This is Red O'Laughlin. We're on Talking Heads now on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And it's a show that I've been changing here in the last several months to what would I do as the basic focus of the topic. So I pick a topic and I say, based on my knowledge of researching the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking, looking for cause and effect relationships, what would I do if I had a problem, whatever that problem is? And I think we started out with cancer. We've been to a dozen or more since then. But today's topic is pain management. And I think I can't think of anybody that I know of who's not had some issue with pain at some point in time in their life. There's some people that have pain that I know that just couldn't get rid of it. I remember one guy I worked with, he'd gotten trench foot during World War II, and he kept it for decades after it would roar up every so often. But sometimes you get those infections or other things, you just can't get rid of it. But anyway, basically with pain, they break it down into, the pain is actually a good thing. In the big scheme of things for our bodies, pain is really a good thing because it prevents us from doing further damage to our body. If you break your arm or you pull something, you kind of isolate that. You don't put additional wear and tear in that area. So from a physiological perspective, that's what happens. Our body is isolated. Now, you look at your immune system. Yeah, you do something, you bounce into it. It's swelling, it's redness, it's sore. That's all to isolate that area. The immune system is doing its job to keep foreign invaders out, to take care of the things that need to happen in that one location. So from a perspective of physiology, things happen for a particular reason. But like anything else in the body, if we have other ways of addressing an issue, in other words, looking at the cause, and that's what I plan on doing today. There's generally considered three classes of pain. You have what they call the nociceptive. I don't know why I have so much trouble with that one. But we have sensory neurons in various parts of our body, and we ram one of them into a door or bounce our head off of something. And those sensors send a signal to the brain saying, "Whoop, hey, got pain." We also have pain that's from damaged tissues. It's basically infection or inflammation, and it activates the immune system. In fact, both of them activate the immune system. And then we have what's called the pathological pain. And this is more with nerve damage, and it's a different kind of pain. Not a whole lot out there, but I'm going to talk about the nociceptive and the inflammation, because I think those are two that, with the information I have to present today, will give you some options to consider. And let me go ahead and load up the slides and talk while we're doing this. But the kinds of pains we have, I think in most cases we want to go see the doctor for something, but we can take care of some of them without having to see a doctor. Okay, why is that not loading up? Come on, slide. There we go. Okay, so what would I do? We're talking about pain management today. We're live streaming on Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV, YouTube, a couple of channels, Android TV, Apple TV, social media. I have 2 simulcasts going on right now on my Facebook channels, and more. We also have the audio programs that are going out on Spotify and other locations. So lots and lots of things that are going on with regard to the USA Global TV and Radio Network. My shows are for awareness and education. And I think most importantly, they're to provide you a basis to say, hey, doc, I heard this on YouTube or whatever. And what do you think? So it gives you a chance to do that. My information can be found at red.olaughlin.com for the audio audience. That's red, R-E-D. O'Laughlin spelled OLAUGHLIN. So it's red.olaughlin.com, OLAUGHLIN.com. And I got a couple emails, red@red.olaughlin.com and red.olaughlin@gmail.com. 6 of my books are available there. I have 8 that I've done. A couple others are no longer in print, and I'm looking at resurrecting those down the road. But those can be found at my website, and probably on my website there's a place to buy them. If you don't like Amazon or Kindle, there's another dozen or so places that I list with different publishers. So let's move on. I have one slide in here that I have that gives the links to the various shows, but basically you're looking at all of the USA Global TV and Radio Network programs. Video programs are found on YouTube under USA Global TV. Then you go to the archive and you can find just about everything. So that's just a place where you can find everything there, and on my website also. Pain management. I'm a researcher, never been in the medical or pharmaceutical field. My first degree was in chemistry. I got 5 academic degrees, all in different subjects, 7 professional certifications. I was in the Navy 31 years, was very blessed to be able to go to 61 countries. Got my wife to 30 of them. Cause and effect relationship is what I base my interest in, my passion, my focus. You treat a cause, you might be able to fix a problem. But if you treat the symptoms, never. Plus the fact, if you're treating symptoms, the cause is still creating a problem. Been married 56 years. In July, I'll be 57. We have 2 kids, 3 grandkids, and 1 great-grandson just turned a year recently. Best-selling author. I have 8 books. I'm also an independent publisher. I've done over 40 books for other authors. Distinguished Toastmaster, a writer. I have over 1,000 LinkedIn articles, mostly on health and wellness. I posted a couple this past week, cover a little bit of my Navy background. As I mentioned earlier, all the information in the program today is educational, and I was very, very fortunate on the show The Wise Ones here on the USA Global TV and Radio Network to be host for 2024 on number 2 and number 6 on the grand total of shows that were watched. So I thank my audience very much for that one. My book I'm featuring today is Failure is Not an Option. I based it on the Mercury 7 NASA program, where they are putting a man on the moon and bringing him back safely. And there really and truly was. Failure is not an option on that program. And the kinds of things they went through. And I'm looking at that. Why can't we apply that same thing to our lives? Why can't we apply that same thing to our bodies? And so a lot of things in there. And I also updated it with some things we don't even think about, but also help us in our journey for success. Let's talk a little bit about pain. Basically, it's an unpleasant physical or emotional experience or a feeling. Sometimes we know what causes it. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's easily treatable. Sometimes not. They break it down to the doctors, the industry, into mild and severe. It can be aching. It can be burning. It can be shooting. It can be tingling. And let me tell you right now that with shingles, it was severe, it was aching, it was burning, it was shooting, it was tingling, and probably a couple more. So it's not just a single one. You can get a multiplex of these things all at one time. They determined that anything that's 6 months and less is acute. Anything longer than 6 months is chronic. I've seen some places where they say it's not 6 months, just make it 3 months. Regardless, it's one of those things that if it's acute, you probably have a reasonable shot at doing something because by definition, it's gone in 3 months or 6 months. But chronic pain can be a major problem. Now, what are the standards set for treatments on medications? Obviously, that's one that where there are aspirin and all sorts of other things. We have our non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. Those are Tylenol, acetaminophen, and others out there. And we'll talk a little bit more about those as we're going through the presentation day. You got your opioids, nerve blocks. In fact, I almost had a nerve block with my shingles because the pain was so interesting because nothing would do, just nothing anyway. Talk more about that in a moment. Some places, physical therapy, acupuncture. Acupuncture worked very, very well on my wife when she had some shoulder surgery. But the pain itself, if it's long enough, it can lead to anxiety, depression, fatigue, insomnia, irritability, mood swings, and more. And that more can mean thoughts of suicide because sometimes people just can't live with the pain. Now if the pain's a low level pain in your lower back and it's something that's been there forever, or your knees or your feet or what, yeah, we can sometimes live with pain because it's there and only when we move something does it hurt. But in reality, it can be very debilitating. I mean, it's an interesting evolution for the body. But not all pain reacts the same. My wife is very sensitive to medicine. You cut a pill in half, and that's really probably too much for her. So, and me, I get an injection for two. I need 2 or 3. Used to be Novocaine. I don't know what they're using now, xylocaine or something. But my sensitivity is totally different than my wife's. So people react differently, and so whatever the dosage says doesn't mean that that's going to work every single time. And the pain may respond very well to a half a dosage. It may respond to a 2x dosage, but we don't know. I'm going to talk a little bit about my story so you have an idea what I have. Chondromalacia, that's a knee injury. Basically, a lot of runners get it. Your muscles in the back of your thigh overpower the muscles in the front of your thigh, pull your kneecap off to one side, and then you start rubbing underneath that kneecap, and you start rubbing away the bottom of the kneecap, and you end up with a lot of pain, a lot of swelling, a lot of just issues. And the thing is, you can do a Band-Aid on it just by putting a knee brace on. It forces everything together. The kneecap can't come off either side. And voila, you have a Band-Aid that works. But you have to rebalance the front and back muscles to the right tensions in order to keep everything lined up. I was walking the Camino de Santiago over in Spain about 9 years ago, and there was a woman sitting on a large stone, and she says, "Do you have any icy hot or something?" And I said, "No." I said, "What's the problem?" I asked half a dozen questions. And one of the easiest questions to determine chondromalacia is, does it hurt going downstairs more than it hurts going upstairs? And if the answer is yes, then it might be chondromalacia. Anyway, I had some wrap, and I wrapped up her knee, and in about 30 minutes, then she's passing me on the road. We didn't pass too many people when we were out there walking. But ITBS, iliotibial band syndrome, that's the outside of your knee. I've been for decades. And in cold weather, if I don't get my band stretched just right, at about 3 or 4 miles into a run, I get this twinging that goes back and forth against that knee bone, and it hurts a lot. It brings you right to a halting stop. Plantar fasciitis, that's the bottom of your foot between your heel and the front part of your foot, and it's about a 6-month recovery. We wear some orthotics in your shoes. I've had plantar fasciitis literally on both feet 2 or 3 times, and you'll know immediately. You get up from a chair, you get out of bed, and all of a sudden you get some really pain in the heel area underneath your foot. And you walk 10 steps or more and all of a sudden it's gone away. Blisters, we all get those. Cuts, abrasions. Being a redhead, I'm very sensitive to sun, a lot of sunburn issues over the time. I find that actually coconut oil is probably one of the best things that I have for taking away the pain and for actually helping with the recovery. Shin splints, sometimes my shoes run out. You get several hundred miles good running on a pair of shoes, but over time you wear them out, even just walking. And I remember running a half marathon one day, and all of a sudden, at the beginning, about every 200 yards, I had to stop and stretch my legs because my shins were just crying at me, just screaming. I get down to one of the first turnoffs, and okay, I see people turning that way. And so I go that way, and all of a sudden, this guy passes me. He says, "Oh, you're taking a shortcut today." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "You're supposed to go right back there instead of left." Okay, so I turn around, start heading back, and there the woman who was supposed to be monitoring that intersection, I guess had thought that everybody was gone because I was certainly way behind everyone else. And she finally caught up with me and told me what was going on. So I ended up finishing the race, but it was about a 14 and a half mile half marathon. Muscle strains, we all get those. In fact, probably one of the most common ones is a lower back that can be brought on by many causes. But many times our front muscles in our gut are not balanced to the muscles in our back, just like I talked about the chondromalacia. We have to have balance in our body. And if our back muscles are being pulled or they're being tugging at other parts of our body, and that's a big problem when you have fascia issue, the tissue under the skin, between the skin and the muscle. Sometimes that fascia can be pulled in a different direction. And that really creates a phantom pain because the pain is there, but to fix it, you go to some other part of your body you wouldn't even think was there. In other words, there may be a pain in my shoulder, but it's really the fascia down my leg that's causing that pain in my shoulder. Something that's really, and you can stretch the fascia and get things back. There's a way of doing that. Just go to YouTube. A lot of teeth problems, bone spurs. I 3 times I had surgery on my bone spurs on my toes. And I was just getting ready to say I may be getting a world's record here or something, but shingles, gallbladder and shingles are probably my 2 biggest issues with pain. The gallbladder, I was set up for about 8 hours just trying to find the right place to move where things wouldn't hurt. My wife finally convinced me to go to the doctor's about 5 o'clock in the morning. I get there, and I think it was 250 over 180 was my blood pressure. And they started giving me some pain meds, and the first couple didn't work. The stuff that normally does absolutely did not. They finally found one that did, and things calmed down. Shingles, I got twice last year, once in June, once in July, and probably the worst pain I've ever had in my life. An area the size on my hand, on my upper left thigh, on my left buttocks, and on my lower left back. And as I said earlier, the aching, it's like an electrical surge going through. And if you scratch the itch, it burns. So just shingles was and nothing that I tried worked. It really and truly didn't. It was a nightmare. But let's go ahead and just start talking about these things because there's a lot of information to cover, and I think it's a lot of value here. So in most cases, the cause is known. I slammed something on my foot or bumped into something. But we don't always know the treatment. Okay, if it hurts, maybe I take an aspirin. Maybe there's something else. So, and many times that immediate treatment works. But sometimes we end up setting off 2 different pathways for pain. And we'll talk about that. And so what works for one may not necessarily work for the other. So in other words, yeah, you're addressing the pain adequately, but there's another pathway that's not being addressed. So, and in most cases, if we catch these things early, we can stop things. I mean, seriously, just boom, right now. But we'll dive into that. And when we look at most of the kinds of pain that I'm talking about today, I'm not talking about the neurological pain, the kind of pain I had with shingles. The gallbladder was a tissue level pain inflammation, and that was addressed. But again, the earlier you address it, the more likelihood you're going to get of success. But we end up with cellular damage that starts as pain communications in our bodies. Whatever cell is there sends a signal through your central nervous system up to your brain. Your brain interprets it. We got a problem. Okay. So that system goes back and forth. And when we have these inflammatory responses, there's mediators, and they react to different things. So in most of the cases we're looking at, our bodies generate histamines, bradykinin, proglastinins, cytokinin, and there's cytokines and other things. So I'm going to talk about from an upper level of pain management, pain progression, and then I want to dive into a couple. It's going to look like a lot of detail, but it's not, because I'm going to brush over it quickly. So let's talk about the histamines. Something happens, we injure ourselves, and the body releases histamines. It's actually released from the cellular level. It causes a response. So we get pathogens that can cause it, antibodies can cause it, allergies can cause it, toxins, inflammation, and a lot of problems can cause these histamines to be released. They're always released, as far as I know, always at the site injury. And in most cases, our immune system acts like the 600-pound gorilla in the room and just clears everything out. And now we have the injury, we have the location. Swelling is going to keep other stuff from coming in. We're going to have blood flow slows down. We're going to have heat, redness, soreness, lots of things happen, all because the immune system activates. But the histamines, what they do in the pain part of thing, they stimulate. We talked about nociceptors earlier, the kind of pain, and that's your communication channel. So you get the swelling, you get the itching, you get all sorts of things are going on. And when I want to address a problem like that, an antihistamine is usually what happens. But most of the time, we don't even know to take an antihistamine for that kind of pain. Nerve block. A lot of times for pregnancy, for deliveries, they'll do a nerve block. There are other kinds of pains. I was offered from my shingles doctor, the pain specialist, suggested a nerve block for me. I turned him down because at that point in time, things were manageable. But a nerve block is a way of stopping that communication up the nerve path to the brain. Acupuncture worked very well on my wife's shoulder when she had whatever they call that kind of shoulder surgery. I can't think of it right now, but it's not super important. But she had surgery, and in the recovery process, acupuncture, I think 10 sessions, did absolute wonders. She got full range of motion back, no pain, all sorts of things. Emotional freedom techniques. Go to YouTube, EFT, and whatever pain you have, lower back pain, neck pain, and just follow a mantra where you start talking and you tap various parts of your body. It's also called tapping. Works very, very well on a lot of long-term kinds of pains. I find on a histamine kind of reaction, like a mosquito bite. For me, heat works better than ice, but ice does work well. For my shingles pain, ice worked, but I had to keep it on for about 30 minutes. It would calm me down enough that I could almost be human for a few minutes. We talked earlier about NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. Pluses and minuses. We'll talk a little bit about the minuses down the road. Sometimes exercise. You need a physical therapy. You need something to get things rearranged. Sometimes you can be, looking at the screen so long your neck can be a problem. Sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, if you're not paying attention, your posture can cause problems. Massage therapy is good. Electrical stimulation. I use that on my thigh and stuff for my shingles, and there was a little bit of help there. Bradykinin is another pathway of pain, but it's caused from enzymes, and these cause the blood flow to increase. Sometimes it gets to be excessive when we end up with edema, which also is a lot of swelling and pain. It releases prostaglandins. It promotes inflammation. And ironically, in this particular case, it ramps up the sensitivity to pain. Now, some drugs we use, they're set up to target the source of the pain. But unless you know what the source is, it's kind of hard to say. And we'll talk a little bit about the COX-2 selective here in a quick moment. But some of the things that I have, and we'll talk about today, is quercetin, ginger, turmeric, and more. There are a lot of natural pain helpers out there. But let's dive into what happens in most cases, and this is what I'm really talking about today. There's a thing called arachidonic acid, AA, and it's activated by what's called a COX-2 enzyme, cyclooxygenase 2. Well, you have cyclooxygenase 1 and you have N2. One deals with your stomach and some other issues with clotting and whatever. But this 2 is the one that's dormant all the time. And when you have an injury, all of a sudden it activates. It gets your prostaglandins going. It gets your immune response. Inflammation's there. Pain sensitivity ramps up. Redness, swelling. Some cases fever, not always, but some cases. But it also promotes a clot formation, constricts blood flow. Lots of these things are normal immune functions that happen every single time. But moving across the way, if I'm looking at arachidonic acid being activated by cyclooxygenase, there are other processes. I'm not going to go into the detail of each one of these, but these prostaglandins, and they end up tapping on the door of the pain receptors and then sending messages to the brain. It's activated at the site. But everything we're seeing, and it doesn't matter where arachidonic acid is activated by the COX mechanism or the LOX or some other mechanism, we're going to see the same kinds of results. Now, they are using NSAIDs to inhibit the COX-2 reaction. That's where it stops all these things, swelling, redness, soreness. That's part of the normal body's immune system. But it also inhibits the COX-1 protection that we have. A lot of major issues there with heart issues, digestive stomach. It's a major, major problem. So they came out with these COX-2 selective drugs. And the first couple of them, I think, were taken off the market because of lawsuits, a lot of deaths, major, major problems with those. So as much as we'd like to shut down the COX-2 ability to activate arachidonic acid, if we shut it down, then we don't get to all the rest of these things. So that's the best part on the chemical part. Let's shut this one down and all the rest of these don't happen. And that's good. We don't have the swelling. We don't have the redness. We don't have the soreness. A lot of things happen if we can shut it down. So the drug manufacturer is saying, okay, let's try this. Well, there's some natural things that do. There's some other things that don't. I mentioned AA has a lot of ones. Leukotrienes, inflammation, the cytochrome P450 pathways, endocannabinoid system. Lots of things out there are causing. We're not going to go into any detail with these today, but I just wanted to see that AA acts in so many different ways just because you're controlling it. So if you can control the thing that stops AA from activating the COX-2 enzyme, then a lot of these things never even get a chance to get going. It's interesting on the endocannabinoid system. It's just the cannabinoid, just like you think cannabinoids for marijuana and whatever. Yeah, it's that particular molecule in there. But our body makes palmitoyl ethanolamide, which is a cannabinoid kind of molecule that's really good for certain kinds of pain. Again, it didn't work with me at all for my shingles, but I did try it for some other things. LOX, lipooxygenase, just like the cyclooxygenase, there's a lipooxygenase. It converts everything into leukotrienes, and one of the more predominant ones is the LTB4. But anyway, it all activates pain. It amplifies pain. And so if I can shut down the COX-2 that starts AA to begin with, that's really and truly what I would do. And so we have drugs out there, and yeah, I can take an aspirin, I can take an acetaminophen, I can take a Tylenol, I can take an Aleve, and yes, in 40 minutes, I don't feel the pain. But there's other things going on, side effects in the body that may come back later on to haunt you. So which pathways are activated? We don't know. But if I can treat it, then that's what I really want to do. And so for me, this is what I would do. Natural inhibitors to the creation of AA. Well, it's actually quite a few. Omega-3 fatty acids, curcumin, gingerol from ginger, resveratrol from red grapes or red wine, quercetin and green tea, boswellia, astaxanthin, vitamin E, rosemary, gamma-mangosteen. So we're going to talk a little bit about those because this is what actually stops the pain. Omega-3 fatty acids, typically EPA and DHA, they basically shut down the synthesis of what they call icosanoids, which also lowers the COX-2 reaction. Curcumin, which is turmeric, So long as it has black pepper extract, piperine. It also works very well with the COX-2 and not influencing very much on the COX-1. In fact, there's only two things that I know of, curcumin and gamma mangosteen, we'll talk about in a minute, that absolutely reduce the COX-2 enzyme and its creation of AA without affecting COX-1. And I think that's a super big deal. You have necrosis factor that's also reduced. Again, that's part of the downhill thing. The lipooxygenase, just like we had COX, cyclooxygenase, the lipooxygenase 1 is reduced with curcumin. You have cytokines that are in there. Gingerol from ginger also is a COX-2 inhibitor. I'm looking at resveratrol, red wine and red grapes. Again, it has an effect on COX-2. Now, many of these, they affect COX-2, but they barely touch the COX-1. And that's when they came out with the COX-2 selective for Vioxx and some of the other drugs they had. They got it down to like 300 times the effect on COX-1. It wasn't a massive amount. They actually reduced it a lot, but the drug itself was so powerful, it just created all sorts of havoc in the body. It wasn't well researched. Quercetin, again, it reduces both the COX and the LOX. It also reduces what's called reactive oxygen. It's a oxidation agent, reactive oxygen species. And so if you can cut down the oxidation, that's, again, you lowering the inflammation, you're helping yourself. A lot of kinases out there, and those are part of what the pain pathway requires in order to be active and alive. So if I can reduce those, there are a lot of transcription factors that are applied with those and the different enzymes and proteins and things. So if I can reduce the kinase actions, then again, I'm not only going at the front end, I'm also going along the pathway and reducing the things that also occur. Catechins in green tea, epigallocatechin gallate, EGCG, again, is a selective COX-2 inhibitor. Boswellia extract, COX-2 inhibitor. Vitamin E, and again, we're talking about all 8 components of vitamin E, not just the one synthetic one you get in the multivitamin. But you need to get what they call mixed tocopherols or mixed tocopherols, and they reduce the oxidative stress of the body significantly, which impacts the ability of AA to actually go out and do its job. So it protects the cell from oxidation. Astaxanthin, a wonderful nutrient. It reduces the AA or its ability to create the pain pathway. It reduces both the COX and the LOX. It reduces cytokines and kinases. Kind of like a little wonderful miracle drug there. Rosemary, also called carnosol or carnosonic acid, is a COX-2 inhibitor. Gamma mangosteen, one of my favorites. This is my go-to. It didn't work for shingles, but it works for everything else in my life. I have seen so many people take this, and literally in minutes, pain is gone. I use it a lot. In fact, I use it this week. I was out doing some stuff, and I started seeing a little blister develop. And I know if I take 2 ounces of this, boom, it's in it. Basically, it's the rind of a mangosteen plant. There's about 60 different kinds of xanthones in there. These are each individual kind of chemicals. One of them is called gamma mangosteen. Well, that gamma mangosteen is a COX-2 inhibitor, but has no effect on COX-1 at all. And so when you're looking at something, it's a little expensive, maybe $120 for a 4-pack, big bottles, and buy it on Amazon. It is the absolute best thing in the world for pain, for most kinds of pain. If I used to run a lot, and if I had stopped running in between, and I start running again, I get the muscle pain again. I take that before I run, never get it. Otherwise, 3 days later, all of a sudden, I'm really walking slowly. But there are just a lot of things out there that this gamma makes. I remember one day I came home for something, I wasn't paying attention, who knows why, and I slammed the car door and I happened to catch one of my knuckles. Go inside and I take about 4 to 6 ounces of that. Come back outside, I get to where I'm going, I look at my hand. Well, no swelling, full range of motion. I squeeze it, I could feel the pain, but everything else was not there. No redness, no soreness, no heat, no swelling. So gamma mangosteen, if I'm going to recommend anything at all, that's a good one. Turmeric, curcumin is another one that's cheaper. but you need to make sure it has a black pepper extract because that makes it about 2,000% more bioavailable in the body. In fact, almost all of these, astaxanthin, rosemary, the other ones that I mentioned, gingerol, etc., resveratrol, make sure you have some black pepper extract with it, or just take something and put a lot of pepper on it as part of your cooking or whatever, because black pepper really does make a difference. I think it's a molecule that's not very well played up in the medical field. Okay, let's get ready to wrap these things up here a little bit. The standard gouge, the standard advice is, if you still have a problem, regardless of what that problem is, we're talking about pain, see your doctor. In other words, in 10 days, it's either going to get worse, it's going to stay the same, or get better. If it gets better, you don't care. If it stays the same or gets worse, you really need to see your doctor. And so if it gets worse, you'll probably see your doctor sooner. That's assuming you can get in and see someone, or you end up at the local 24-hour emergency room. A lot of the over-the-counter drugs, look at them, know their side effects. We talked about NSAIDs. They cause over 17,000 deaths a year, 100,000 hospital stays overnight. Lots of problems. I think acetaminophen is probably one of the worst. I had a really good buddy in the military, and he had never taken acetaminophen. He took it, and he was in the hospital for 7 days. They weren't sure he was going to live. Some of these things are fine for most people. Even the side effects are fine. But there are some people that are overly sensitive or almost allergic, and you give them a big dose of something, and whoa, that's a major problem happening quickly. So look at what the side effects are. So you know, if you take it and I have something, okay, that's probably a side effect, upset stomach, fatigue, whatever. Look so you know what's there, because it does create a lot of problems. Now, we talk about self-treatment. That's what we're talking about today. I'm not a big proponent in medicine. If I can treat something non-medical, that's what my preference is. But I want to understand what the medical options are too, particularly with my shingles. I was back and forth to see at least 4 different kinds of doctors because nothing worked. I got down to a point where, I think it's on the next slide. Yeah, I got down to the point where the only thing that worked for my shingles was ice and bourbon. And the ice was a temporary relief. The bourbon would allow me to sleep more than 2 hours at one time. And for about 5 weeks, 6 weeks, I didn't get more than an hour or 2 hours sleep max. But medical treatment focuses on the symptoms. And that's the way our medical industry is. You go in, tell me what's bothering you. They do all the tests. They have the symptoms. They know, okay, those things there are probably this. That's why some things like just multiple sclerosis and Lyme disease are so hard to separate, because the symptoms are exactly the same. And it's not always easy for a doctor to just look at something and say, now, I had I had another problem. Yeah, shingles. It was shingles. Many years ago when my wife was going through cancer treatment, I was outside and I got overly sunburned. And I went in, the doctor looked at it and said, hey, it looks like a classic case of shingles to me. And sure enough, it was. He gave me some stuff, boom. 4 or 5 days, they were gone. I never had any problems. I never had really an itch that I could write home about. So sometimes the level of our problems are there. But that last time of shingles, and I got a double case, once at the beginning of June, healed up, or started to heal up nicely, and then I got it again, and it just actually drove me wild. But you look at medical treatment, and after heart disease and cancer, medical treatment is the 3rd leading cause of death in America. Kind of hard to swallow that one, but you have surgical accidents, you have anesthesiology issues, you have allergies, just like I talked about with acetaminophen. You have a lot of misdiagnosis. You got a lot of dosage issues. Lots and lots of things happen because of medical treatments. Not saying that they're bad. In most cases, it's the only thing we have. But know a little bit about something before you go in. If you're starting something new, start incrementally. And many, many times when we start looking at the things, we may have multiple causes, but the treatment that we're taking only addresses one specific cause and not others. You know, like Alzheimer's, there must probably 15 different causes, but most of the time they're only talking about 1 or 2. So with that, I'm going to get ready to wrap this thing up here in the next 10 seconds or so. And I don't think that's my last slide. So let's connect again next week. I don't know what the topic's going to be, but I'll figure it out and let you all know. Take care, y'all. Bye now.
Meet Red O'Laughlin, TV show host, presenter, and author.
Howdy y'all, Red Olaughlin here. I'm a TV host on the USA Global TV and Radio Network.
Red has 3 weekly shows every Thursday.
I've been a TV host now with USA Global probably maybe just a little over 3 years. Probably, I know for sure, 250, 300 shows.
Join Red on the Corner Bookstore.
The Corner Bookstore is one where we talk to authors, publicists, publishers, editors, cover designers, anybody associated with the writing and authoring book production business. You have somebody in that area, I can help you with regard to getting your book done, getting it published, working with you on a cover. A lot of things I can help people with, and I have probably maybe published over 40 books for people so far.
Join Red on The Wise Ones.
On the Wise Ones, I'm looking for entrepreneurs, business owners, people who have wisdom, lessons learned over time that they can share with others. So please go to usaglobaltv.com, sign up, and join me there.
Book your session on usaglobaltv.com. Join Red on Talking Heads.
On Talking Heads, I take my experience. I fell in love with chemistry many years ago, got a degree in it, got an invitation to Vietnam, never practiced chemistry per se. But I did get a chance when my wife was going through chemo to get back into the chemical end of things. I started looking for cause and effect relationships. I had been working at a company doing cause and effect analysis on failures in the field on various products that we made. So I said, why not look at the cellular structure in the body? The chemicals are chemicals. They do certain things. So I take my knowledge of chemistry and research. I write about it. I speak about it. I have over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn, most of them dealing with some aspect of health or wellness. I speak on that topic quite often, and the Talking Head show is one that I concentrate my knowledge of health and wellness on in order to help people.
Red is a distinguished Toastmaster.
As a distinguished Toastmaster, I help people get their speeches developed. The presentation is something that I critique all the time with Toastmasters. It's one of those skills that I have. I can easily help you on that one. So from a position of writing, publishing, book coach, speaking, and being a keynote speaker at an event or virtually, depending on how things work out. But those are the things that I can help people with, and I have 3 shows every week here on the USA Global TV and Network, and please join me when you can. Appreciate it. Bye now.
Here are some of the books that Red has written and published. Contact Red at red.olaughlin.com.
What if one simple skill could change the way you connect with the world? What if listening could open doors to deeper relationships, stronger businesses, and a better you? Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, brings you USA Global TV and Radio, a space where voices are heard, ideas are shared, and global communities thrive. Through the elevated listeners' courses and books, you'll master the power of listening, set boundaries with confidence, and transform conversations into opportunities. Join us. Listen, learn, elevate. Whether you're a leader, a coach, a business owner, or someone seeking stronger connections, your journey starts today. Subscribe, learn, and transform today.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Steve Klein Art at steveklein.art.
My name is Steve Klein, born Manchester, England, 1953. My quest in my lifetime is to create artwork from my soul and the deepness within my wildest dreams and fantasies. In 2012, my heart stopped when I was given too much anesthetic for a minor knee operation, and this near-death experience took me to another multidimensional world, an out-of-body experience, and I was given the gift of being blessed by an overwhelming, burning passion to become, for the very first time in my life, an artist with an eternal, passionate desire to bring my art, which I've named multidimensional, subliminal, freeform art, to the world, as only 3% recover from what I experienced, and now in my golden years want to release my cosmic, vital energy through my art to allow people to be a part of my cosmic dance.
To learn more, email roccogoodwine@gmail.com. For VIP pricing, mention USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.